Friends, Shutter Island is a mind-twister movie. It's highly unlikely to understand it if you have watched it once only. But I will explain its complete story and plot so that you can enjoy it watching again. And we will also tell you the hints in movie that you might have missed. Shutter Island is a story of Ashcliff Hospital where mentally challenged criminals are treated. The whole story is a role play which is being performed to treat a patient. The movie starts with two US Marshals, who have apparently come on the island to investigate about a missing patient named Rachel Solando. The security of this island is so tight that nobody can escape from it. But Rachel Solando has got missing somehow. What is the real story? You will get to know at the end of movie. The two US Marshals, Edward Daniel and his partner Chuck, are here to investigate the missing patient. When they enter the hospital, they see many patients doing the field work. But the strange part is that everybody looked at Marshals as if they already know him. First, they get to meet Dr. Cowley, who is the in charge of Ashcliff Hospital. He shows them the photo of Rachel Solando and tell him that she was mentally unstable. Her husband had died during World War II. Afterwards, she killed her 3 children and then she was brought to Ashcliff Hospital for treatment. But she has never accepted the reality. She still thinks that her children are alive, they have gone to school, and all other patients here at the hospital are her servants. Then suddenly, Edward Daniel gets a migraine attack. Dr. Cowley and Chuck give him a medicine, after which he starts feeling better. Then Edward Daniel goes to check the room of Rachel Solando. He finds out that the room is properly sealed. He then finds a paper under the rug where it was written, the rule of 4, who is 67. Nobody present there could explain its meaning. Edward Daniel keeps that paper with him for further investigation. He is told by Dr. Cowley that security of the hospital is finding Rachel Solando everywhere. He then interrogates the whole staff of hospital. But nobody seemed to be willing to give away any information regarding Rachel. But he finds out that the doctor of Rachel Solando, Dr. Sheehan, has gone on vacation that very morning. Edward Daniel thinks that the doctor going on vacation on the same day the patient has gone missing is not a coincidence. Yet, nobody was giving much details to the marshal. Then Dr. Cowley takes Edward to meet a German doctor. Although Edward did not like the Germans much, especially after World War II. Edward asks him for all the record and personal files of patients at Ashcliff Hospital. But the doctor refuses to give away the data. This makes Edward furious, and he decides to leave the island and report their non-cooperative attitude to his seniors. The night falls, Edward gets delusions of his dead wife. Despite much efforts, he could not get away from the face of his wife. His hallucinations were very strong. The next morning, Marshals cancel their plan to leave the island due to heavy rain. Edward then decides to interrogate every worker individually. Edward interrogates one of the patients, Mrs. Kearns, but he did not get much information about Rachel Solando. Then he asks if she knows any patient named Andrew Ladis. She replies that she has not heard this name before. Then she asks Chuck for a glass of water, and when he goes away, she writes on Edward's diary, "Run." She was asking him to run away for some reasons. After they leave, Chuck asks Edward, "Who is Andrew Ladis that you asked about?" He says that my wife burned to death as our house was set on fire by a man named Andrew Ladis. Investigations revealed that he had been involved in some other incidents as well. So he was sent to this island for treatment. But nobody knows about him. Then it was dinner time. Dr. Cowley was discussing with the German doctor that a lot of damage has been done by rain towards A, B and C, and their concern is that all 66 patients must be safe. Edward and Chuck overheard them. He enters and asks Dr. Cowley that who is 67th patient that was indicated by the paper found in Rachel Solando's room. Dr. Cowley replies that Rachel Solando has been found, and you are no more required on this island. He takes them to meet Rachel Solando. Edward asks Rachel, where was she? Rachel replies, I was away to give lunch to my children, they had to go to school. She said so, because she was in a state of denial. Then the night falls, and Edward's mental health again bothers him. Dr. Cowler and Chuck give him medicine, after which he falls asleep. He sees the people in Dream, who were assassinated by him in World War II. Then he again sees his dead wife, who asks him that Andrew Ladis is still on this island, and you have to find him, and take revenge, at every cost. When Edward wakes up, he finds himself in a ward, where he was kept on a patient bed, along with other patients. Then he sees his partner Chuck, and goes out to find Andrew Ladis. In this search, he reaches Ward C, where extremely dangerous and highly aggressive mental patients are kept. He finds all of them in cages. He sees a person, and presumes that he is Andrew Ladis, but then he finds that it was George Noyce. Their conversation shows that they knew each other already, and George Noyce told him that he is kept in Ward C because of Edward. He tells him that now Charwai will take him to Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a place on the island where those patients are taken who do not show any signs of improvement in their mental health through medication. Then an experiment named lobotomy is carried out on them. In this experiment, they prick and cut off some nerves, due to which the patients lose all connections and memories from their past. They forget their identity, and then they can transform them into a completely new person, as they like. Edward assures him that he will not let them take him to Lighthouse. Then George Noyce tells him that if you want to save the patients from lobotomy, then you have to let go of the memories of your wife. You cannot look for Andrew Ladis and save the patients from experiments at the same time. Then Edwards leaves the Ward C and heads towards Lighthouse. His partner Chuck tries to stop him, but he says that he has to reach there at all cost. And he will go alone. He leaves his partner Chuck and heads alone. A few steps ahead, he realizes that it's very difficult to reach Lighthouse alone. So he turns back, but his partner Chuck was not there. He looks for him, and then finds out that he has fallen off the rock and died. He climbs down that rock to save his partner, but when he reaches down, the body of Chuck was not there. Then he heads back towards the hospital. On the way, he finds a light in a nearby cave in the rock. He enters that cave and sees a lady standing there, who introduces herself as the real Rachel Solando. She tells him that he had met the fake Rachel in hospital. She tells him that she was not a patient of Ashcliffe, rather, she was a doctor. And when she started to question the lobotomy experiments being done, she was declared mentally unwell and was admitted in the same hospital. She then asks him to go back, as looking for Edward, they might find her. Then Edward goes back to hospital. He again gets strong hallucinations of his wife. Those delusions are so strong that to get rid of them, he sets the car of Dr. Cowley on fire. After that, he finally reaches the lighthouse. There he finds Dr. Cowley sitting calmly in a chair. He asks him about Andrew Ladis and about the experiments being done in Lighthouse. He also tells him that he knows Rachel Solando and that they can never find her. This was the turning point of the movie. Dr. Cowley tells him that he is right, they can never find Rachel Solando because she never existed. He then tells Edward that actually Edward himself is the 67th patient of the hospital. He then writes 4 names on a board: Edward Daniel, Andrew Ladis, Rachel Solando, and Dolores Chanel. He says that you are pretending to be Edward Daniel, looking for Rachel Solando. But the fact is that you are Andrew Ladis, looking for your dead wife, Dolores Chanel, who is dead. Yes, friends, actually Edward Daniel is Andrew Ladis, who is the 67th patient of hospital. He was actually a US Marshal who assassinated numerous people in World War II. This depression affected his mental health. His wife was fed up of this situation, so she sets his house on fire. But Andrew saves. They shift to a new house near a lake. But this also did not help, and his wife Dolores killed her own 3 children by drowning them in that lake. His wife Dolores then requests him that she does not want to live anymore with this trauma and asks him to free her of this life. Then Andrew Ladis shoots his wife. Then he was brought to Shutter Island in Ashcliffe Hospital to be treated. But since Andrew Ladis has never accepted this reality, so he denies everything that Dr. Cowley was saying. Dr. Cowley shows him all the records of his admission in hospital as Andrew Ladis and tells him that he is under treatment in the same hospital for last 2 years. But Andrew still denies all the proofs. Then he sees his partner Chuck entering the room. And then he gets to know that he is not Chuck, rather he is Dr. Sheehan, the psychiatrist of Andrew Ladis, since last 2 years. After getting to know all this, Andrew Ladis pulls up a pistol and shoots Dr. Cowley. But then he gets to know that the pistol he had was actually a toy, so that he could not harm anybody. Then Dr. Sheehan reminds Andrew Ladis the whole story. He tells him that actually Rachel Solando did not kill her 3 children, rather it was Dolores Chanel who did so. And the Andrew Ladis that he is searching for is basically himself, as he has killed his wife. Andrew then recalls the scenes when he was taking his children out of lake and putting their bodies nearby, and then shoots his wife as well. He also admits that the names Rachel Solando and Edward Daniel were created by himself to run away from the bitter reality. Recalling all this, Andrew felt unwell. He was given medicine by Dr. Sheehan and Dr. Cowley. A nurse also comes there, who was the girl he met as Rachel Solando. Dr. Cowley actually let Andrew pretend to be Edward, so that he can himself come back to reality. It was a treatment technique which was somehow successful, as it made Andrew remember everything and come back to reality. Now Dr. Sheehan and Dr. Cowley are fully convinced that Andrew is slowly improving as far as his mental health is concerned. But the next morning, when Andrew was sitting next to Dr. Sheehan, he again says that Chuck, we have to leave this island as soon as possible. Dr. Sheehan looks towards Dr. Cowley in disappointment and nods his head, saying that he has again gone back to his imaginative world. Dr. Cowley looks disappointed and tells his colleagues to take Andrew for lobotomy in Lighthouse. But then, before leaving, Andrew asks Dr. Sheehan, what's better? To live as a monster or die as a hero? Saying this, he starts walking towards Lighthouse. This is the point when Dr. Sheehan realizes that Andrew Ladis had not actually gone back to hallucinations, rather he said so intentionally, as he did not want to live with such traumatic memories. Friends, I am sure you are going to watch the movie again and notice every detail so that you can understand the story completely. If you liked our video, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.